Pavlova is a meringue-based dessert. It's like a meringue, but instead of being hard all the way through, sort of like a meringue is, Pavlova has a crispy exterior and a soft, like marshmallowy interior, and sort of eats and looks more like a cake. It's a major staple dessert in the spring and summertime in New Zealand and Australia, and there is a debate on which one of the two countries invented it, and I'm not going to comment on that. However, it does seem to be named after a Russian ballerina named Anna Pavlova in honor of her visit to the country. What is for sure is that as a self-proclaimed meringue hater, a Pavlova is something more and it's something special, and this year you're going to get acquainted with it. This video is sponsored by Brancott Estate Sauvignon Blanc, a fantastic New Zealand wine that we're going to use in this recipe, but more on this later. Let's just jump right into it. Now, in my research, I came across many issues that you're gonna potentially come across when making pavlova. It is a finicky beast. It's a thing that sometimes doesn't want to play nice with you. I'm gonna sort of run through potential pitfalls to preempt any mistakes we might make. I'm by no means an expert in this, but I have made this a whole bunch of times. I've made mistakes, and through that, hopefully we can prevent any mistakes you might be having. The first of which is you're gonna make sure you're gonna get fresh eggs, and they're gonna be room temperature. It's gonna whip up into a better, more stable egg whites than using cold or old eggs. And I'm using about 6 large eggs. And we're gonna separate out the egg whites from the egg yolks, and we're gonna do them in separate bowls. Another thing we have to do is make sure that our bowls, our gear, anything we're gonna use to whip the meringue up has no greasy residue or fat left over. One way you could do that is you could take a lemon, just sort of squirt it onto a paper towel and just sort of wipe it out. Sometimes even when you wash with soap, you leave a little bit of residue, and that can really screw things up. Now, I'm not gonna crack the egg whites into this bowl. I'm gonna do it all here so that, God forbid, I get any egg yolks into the egg whites. It's not gonna ruin the entire batch of egg whites, and I don't waste them all. Egg whites into one bowl, egg yolks in the other, then those egg whites into the bowl. That way we make certain no egg yolks are gonna get into our mixing bowl. I'm gonna save this and make some pasta dough, you know? Forget about it. The next thing that is a little bit tricky is you're gonna have to find this super fine sugar called caster sugar. Turns out that regular granulated sugar is a little too coarse and it will not dissolve as well as caster sugar will in beating the egg whites. So at the end, your interior gets a little bit grainy. Can be done with granulated sugar, but caster sugar seems to work the best. And I'm gonna need 1.5 cups. Now we've got an electric mixer. That's really helpful because it does take a little bit of time for these to come together. You could use a hand mixer as well. You could do it by hand, but you better be jacked. Now we're gonna get these going, just the egg whites for now. If there's 10 speeds, I'm gonna go at speed 6. You don't wanna beat these too hard. Nice medium speed, go slow, take your time. And once we reach soft peaks, like a nice real foam is starting to develop, then we're gonna gradually start to work in some of this caster sugar. So here we go. Once you see the egg whites start to stiffen, I'm just gonna take a tablespoon at a time of the caster sugar and add it into the beating egg whites. This is just gonna allow the sugar to more easily dissolve into the egg whites. Once you've got all the sugar incorporated into the meringue, just let it go until you start to see peaks developing. See that? Gotta go longer. Now, while we work it to stiff peaks, I want to measure out about 3 tablespoons of cornstarch and then 1.5 teaspoons of cream of tartar. This is going to create a nice stable pavlova. Now I'm just going to dip my hand. Looks like we're almost at stiff peaks, and I'm going to rub them together to make sure the sugars dissolve. Once that's happened, then I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to add the cornstarch, the cream of tartar, and about a capful of vanilla extract for flavor. And if you take a look inside the bowl, you'll start to see when you're close, peaks starting to form as the whisk attachment makes its rounds around the bowl. Now if you go to nice medium speed and you're patient, it's probably gonna take around 30 minutes to get it to stiff peaks. That's the appropriate stiffness. Really, really go. Really, really good. Now I've got this silk mat. This is a non-stick mat. You can use parchment paper. You could secure the parchment by just dotting a little bit of this meringue below it. It'll keep that parchment paper in place. Now we're just gonna kind of make a cake. It could be as thick as you want, as thin as you want. I wanna go for some height, so when I cut into it, there's a nice chunk of marshmallowy center. Now just take a spatula or an offset pastry tool and just sort of work it into a nice round circular shape. You could keep it rough, you could smooth out the edges, however you want it to look. And then I'm just gonna create a little crevice in the center for all that fruit to get into. And then you can sort of do these nice patterns, right? Almost like creating a crown. Okay, so now we made it this far. Really happy with how it came out. One thing I didn't mention, which really needs to be thought of before you even start to make this, is the humidity of the day. I did a little look on my weather app and it said it was gonna rain yesterday and it's gonna rain for the next 4 days after today. So today was really the only dry, non-humid day that I can make this. And if you do have a humid day, probably gonna run into problems. That humidity is gonna get into that sugar and that sugar is gonna kind of seep it out. It's called weeping. It's also gonna soften the exterior. So you're not gonna get that nice crust around and that soft center. It's just gonna be no good. So a nice dry day is gonna be perfect for this. I've got the oven preheating at 250 degrees, but what I'm gonna do is drop it down to 200. That initial blast of the hotness is going to sort of help seal the crust, and then that slow and low temperature is gonna ensure this cooks properly. It's not gonna crack, hopefully. I want this to look the same coming out of the oven as it does now going into the oven. So into this oven we go. Gently place the pavlova into the oven and then set a timer for about an hour and 15 minutes. After about an hour and 15 minutes, just give it a check. To me, it looks good. It's not browned, it's not falling apart. Now the pavlova is cooked, but I'm not gonna open up the oven door and take it out. I'm gonna turn the heat off of the oven, leave it in the oven for about 2 hours and let it slowly cool down to room temp. Now that we're letting our pavlova rest, we can prep the other elements that we're gonna go on top of the pavlova. The first of which is going to be wine-soaked berries and fruit. And now we can talk about Brancott Estate. Now, New Zealand wines have made a huge impact on the wine world, even though their wines have only been commercially available since the 1970s. New Zealand produces less than 1% of the wines in the world, yet somehow has a spot on everybody's wine shelf, which says something about the quality and love that people have for this region of wines. Brancott Estate pioneered the Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc wine industry by taking a huge risk and planting the first Sauvignon Blanc grapes in Marlborough, New Zealand in 1975. At that time, people thought it was way too cold for anything other than grazing sheep. But that bet paid off because now New Zealand is recognized as one of the great wine producers in the world. When you take a whiff of it, you instantly get these hints of citrus, tropical fruit notes. It's got this like refreshing acidity to it. So using it in this dessert is gonna bring some tartness to it that's gonna balance out the sweetness of the meringue. It's why you often see a pavlova served with a curd, like a lemon curd, because it's that balance of sweet and tangy that brings it all together. And it doesn't become too sweet, it becomes just right. So we're gonna use a little bit of this to soak some fruit in. I'm just gonna take about a pint of strawberries and cut them into quarters. So I'm gonna go in with some blackberries. I found some really beautiful figs. These are optional, but I mean, look how beautiful that is. Why not use them when you find them? What I love about pavlovas is basically just like a vehicle for like a nice fruit salad or like berries and cream. It's gonna just bring some nice texture. It's fantastic. So I'm gonna take some of that castor sugar, just a couple tablespoons. Just coat them with the sugar. It's gonna macerate them. And when I say macerating, it's just a fancy way of saying marinated fruit. Pinch of salt. I've got some grapefruit. I've got some lemon juice. You can use either or, but we're gonna use some grapefruit, so might as well use some of the zest. You get real nice hints of grapefruit in the Sauvignon Blanc, so it's gonna go really nicely, plus it's nice and tart. Some lemon. A little bit of that Sauvignon Blanc. Squeeze the lemon juice. I'm gonna put this off to the side, and I'm gonna segment this grapefruit. So we're gonna take the top and the bottom off. Just take your knife and just slowly curl it around the flesh of the grapefruit. Trying to get as little pith on there as you can. Just take your time with it. There's like a pressure you're gonna place on the outside as your knife curls in. It's gonna allow you to get a minimal amount of that grapefruit flesh away from the skin and the pith. So right now, I'm like pushing the peel outwards as I'm trying to turn that corner. I'm gonna take my knife and just cut out the little segments of grapefruit. Just like that. And you cut it, the next one off, hold it back with your thumb like that. Segment should peel right out. And you want to squeeze all that juice. I'm going to take the segments and place them into my fruit mixture. I'm going to save this juice for the strawberry sauce. And we're just gonna let this sit and marinate while the pavlova continues to cool and we make our strawberry sauce and our whipped cream. Now I'm just gonna take another pint of the strawberries, quarter them again, and these are gonna be the strawberries for our strawberry sauce. So now we're gonna take this batch of strawberries and get them into a pot. Then I'm gonna go in with a 1/4 cup to a 1/2 cup of the Sauvignon Blanc, the grapefruit juice, a little lemon zest, and then some lemon juice. And then about a 1/2 cup of sugar. And then a pinch of salt. And then onto the stove, and we're just gonna cook this till it breaks down, and then we can blend it. Just get the pot on medium-high heat, give it a nice stir, and then just bring that up to a boil, and then drop it down to a simmer, and just cook it until the strawberries are nice and soft, and are gonna blend up really well. And then with a hand blender, just gonna stick it in there and blend it until nice and smooth. Get it back on the heat, reduce it till it's nice and thick, and then pour it through a strainer, get all the seeds and fibers out of there. Now I'm gonna let this chill before using it on the pavlova. This is gonna thicken nicely as it cools. Final element's gonna be some whipped cream. Think of it as the frosting of the cake. In a big bowl, everything cold. Your whipping cream has to be cold. It'll take about 3/4 of a pint. We're gonna sweeten it with some maple syrup. Now the key with whipped cream is using a very large bowl, and then once you've got it to a certain thickness, you turn it on its side and you use the circumference of the bowl to quicken this process and to beat a lot of air into this fast. I like my whipped cream on the softer side, almost like a cloud. She looks beautiful to me. There is some cracking, but that's okay. There's no major structural damage. It didn't collapse. That's all we really care about. You get a nice hard shell. Now you're gonna really wanna handle this gently. To get this off, you just kinda wanna scrape it off of the silk pad or the parchment, transfer it to whatever platter you're gonna use. I'm just gonna chop up some chocolate real quick, some dark chocolate. You wouldn't wanna use a chocolate that's too sweet for this. Then goes the whipped cream onto the pavlova. On top of that, we're going with the wine-soaked fruit. Then some of that dark chocolate, a mix of the chunks, as well as some of the little crumbles as a little dusting for some nice decorative effect to it, along with some freeze-dried strawberries that we're also just gonna crumble up. So we have some like dark specks and some red specks. It just kind of looks nice and adds some texture. That strawberry sauce should be chilled now. We're just gonna drizzle that around the berries and the plate. Some fresh mint, and a final dusting of powdered sugar. And then you just want to cut this thing open like a cake, and you should have this nice thick mallowy center, and it should form a nice slice. A little bit more strawberry sauce, some chocolate, knock yourself out. You see this cake-like interior, this fluffiness? Incredible. It's just like strawberries and cream on absolute steroids. Now if you can see, you've got this creamy, like marshmallowy center and a crispy exterior. So maybe you haven't heard of pavlova before, but this is the year for you to try it. You've got sweetness balanced out by acidity and tartness so that it's overall not too sweet. If you want to get your hands on some of this Brancott Estate New Zealand Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc, you can pick it up at brancotestate.com. I'll leave a link down in the description. Recipe is gonna be down in the description as well. That's all that I have today. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care of yourself and go feed yourself.